Few experiences are as disheartening as exerting tremendous effort only to witness someone else receiving all the recognition for one's endeavors. Consider, then, the plight of the creators behind some of history's most profound innovations, who, after dedicating months, years, or even entire lifetimes to their work, discover another's name unfairly associated with their inventions.
The flush toilet. Plumber Thomas Crapper is widely renowned in toilet history, not only for lending his name to the popular Crapper brand toilets but also because of the humorous alignment of his surname with the slang term for waste.
However, contrary to popular belief, Crapper did not invent the flushing mechanism commonly associated with toilets. While he did patent crucial elements like the U-bend and floating ballcock in the late 1880s, the flush toilet itself was conceived much earlier. In 1596, English courtier John Harrington, who was Queen Elizabeth I's godson, outlined what could be considered the prototype for the modern flush toilet, boasting a 2-foot deep bowl and a hefty 7.5 gallons of water per flush.
Although only 2 operational models were produced, one installed in Harrington's residence and the other in Queen Elizabeth's palace, the concept laid the groundwork for future innovations.
The first official patent for a flushable toilet was later awarded to Scottish inventor Alexander Cumming in 1775.
Monopoly.
Since the 1930s, it has been widely accepted that Charles Darrow was the inventor of Monopoly, a notion that both he and the game's publisher, Parker Brothers, actively promoted, as evidenced by its inclusion in the game's instructions for decades. However, this narrative is not entirely accurate. Darrow's inspiration for the game, which ultimately brought him significant wealth, originated from Elizabeth McGee, a left-wing feminist, who created and patented an early iteration of Monopoly known as the Landlord's Game in 1903, approximately 3 decades before Darrow's involvement. Darrow became acquainted with the game through a couple who had played it in Atlantic City, from which many of the game's street names were derived. Making several modifications, Darrow adapted the original game, which featured elements such as a wealth tax and public utilities, designed as a critique of the dominant monopolies of McGee's era. McGee's game featured 2 sets of rules, one allowing players to establish monopolies and crush their adversaries, and another promoting an anti-monopolist approach that rewarded all players when wealth was generated, reflecting McGee's belief in a morally superior course of action. Only in recent years has McGee begun to receive recognition for her role in creating one of the world's most beloved and iconic board games. The telescope. The Italian polymath Galileo Galilei is commonly attributed with the invention of the telescope, and this association is understandable given his pivotal role in advancing astronomy through telescopic observations of celestial bodies like our Moon and the moons of Jupiter. Galileo crafted his initial telescope in 1609, inspired by reports of perspective glasses, originating from the Netherlands. However, it was Dutch eyeglass maker Hans Lippershey who sought the first recorded patent for a telescope in 1608, predating Galileo by a year. Although Lippershey's telescope offered a modest magnification of only 3 times, it marked a significant milestone in optical innovation. By the end of 1609, Galileo had refined his telescope to achieve a magnification of 20 times, further revolutionizing astronomical observation. The question of whether Lippershey merits sole credit for the telescope's invention remains a topic of debate, as it's plausible that others developed similar devices prior to his patent application. The iPod. Portable digital audio players have been in existence since the mid-1990s, but it was Apple's iPod that fundamentally transformed the industry upon its debut in 2001. However, it's worth noting that the engineers at Apple were not solely responsible for the invention of the iPod. British inventor Kane Kramer actually pioneered the technology behind the iPod as early as 1979. Kramer's credit card-sized music player, bearing a striking resemblance to the iPod, could only store 3.5 minutes of music, but he foresaw that storage capacity would inevitably increase with time. Regrettably, internal issues within his company led to the lapse of his patent, resulting in the technology becoming publicly available. Apple later acknowledged Kramer's contribution to the invention of the technology underpinning the iPod. The light bulb. Thomas Edison is frequently, albeit inaccurately, attributed with the sole invention of the light bulb. However, the development of the light bulb predates Edison's era, marking the culmination of a process that commenced prior to his birth. In 1802, English chemist Humphrey Davy demonstrated the first electric arc lamp using a voltaic pile, an innovation credited to Alessandro Volta, from whom the unit of electrical potential, the volt, derives its name. Davy's initial lamp, though excessively bright and short-lived, represented a significant advancement. Subsequent efforts by various scientists aimed to refine the concept, yet challenges related to filaments and power sources hindered the practicality of early lightbulb prototypes. In 1860, English physicist Joseph Swan devised a basic electric light employing a carbonized paper filament within an evacuated glass bulb. Despite limitations such as inadequate vacuum technology and power supply, Swan's creation laid a foundation for subsequent innovations, including those pioneered by Edison. Edison, recognizing the potential of earlier developments, acquired patents from Swan and others, enhancing upon them to create his own commercially viable light bulb. While not the inaugural light bulb invention, Edison's iteration represented a groundbreaking achievement in making electric lighting accessible for everyday use.
The automobile.
A prevalent misunderstanding is that Henry Ford is the inventor of the automobile. However, the origins of the automobile can be attributed to Nicolas Joseph Cugnot, a French military engineer who constructed a steam-powered tricycle in 1769 for military transport purposes.
Although some debate persists regarding the classification of Cugnot's invention as a true automobile due to its reliance on steam power, credit for the first gasoline-powered automobiles is often assigned to Carl Friedrich Benz and Gottlieb Daimler, both independently developing their vehicles in 1886 in separate German locations. Benz notably demonstrated his three-wheeled vehicle in 1885, marking it as the first practical modern automobile and the inaugural commercially available car in history. Henry Ford's legacy in automotive history stems from his introduction of the Model T, which he revolutionized through mass production techniques employing a pioneering moving assembly line, thereby democratizing automobile ownership for the American middle class. In recognizing the struggles and achievements of innovators throughout history, we must acknowledge the importance of fair recognition and equitable credit. By valuing integrity and collaboration, we honor their legacy and inspire future generations to pursue groundbreaking discoveries.